The story begins in Britain with the SAS. Soap McTavish has joined Captain Price's unit, and Captain Price has him run a training exercise where he's going to mock storming a cargo ship. The reason being that Soap, Captain Price and Gaz are going to do this for real in the Bering Strait right afterwards. You see, Russia's in a state of civil war at this point, with the Russian ultranationalists led by Imran Zakayev on one side, who are sponsoring a coup in some unnamed Middle Eastern nation. Your informant within these ultranationalists has told you that there's cargo on this ship you need to be aware of, and sure enough you find a nuke, a manifest and a flag from this country, which is pretty handy. Right after that, the ship gets attacked and starts to capsize with Gaz Price and Soap on board, and they have to make a dramatic escape. With that done, the story then shifts to the Middle East, where President al-Fulani is being deposed in a coup organised by Khalid al-Assad and Imran Zakayev. He gets roughed up a little bit and driven through town by some guy who looks startlingly like Niko Bellic. He gets stomped on, taken out in front of a video camera, Imran Zakayev with the one arm, and al-Assad who shoots him in the face. In the Caucasus, Gaz, Soap and Price are looking for their informant so they can save his life before Zakayev can kill him. Their ally among the Russians, Kamarov, has them do some sniping first, before he'll tell them where Nikolai is. They do some sniping, all gets a bit too much for Gaz, who gets upset, threatens him, but then Kamarov tells him where it is, they rappel down. Gaz cuts the power at the house, Price and Soap go inside, slaughter some guys in the dark, and then go and rescue Nikolai from the room that he's tied up in. They take him away, exfiltrate, get him on the chopper, and skedaddle out of there, which gives a really nice segue into the American campaign. The Americans are Private Jackson, the player, along with Griggs and Vasquez. They believe that al-Assad is holed up in a TV station where they know his broadcast coming from, so they go along, they infiltrate the station, and work their way to the top, where they find that it's just a message playing on repeat. Their mission scuppered, they go on to their next mission, which is to help out a stranded tank called Warpig, which is stuck in a bog. Jackson gets to use a pretty cool gun to destroy some tanks. Then they cut through a fence and find the tank. Unfortunately, the whole area is crawling in enemy troops, and there's an anti-aircraft gun somewhere, so Jackson goes along, finds the anti-aircraft gun, disables it, kills people around it, blows it up, all that good stuff, and then the air support can get in. They get a chopper in, which helps clear out the other enemies, and clears a way for Warpig to carry on. So back in the Caucasus, Soap, Gaz, Price, and Nikolai get shot down in the chopper they're in. They were the only survivors of the crash, and they try to get to an extraction point, but they come up against some pretty stiff resistance. There's all kinds of guys, and some vans, and a helicopter even, that's following them about and trying to get the better of them. So they end up working their way through a field and into a farmhouse, and out the back, where they work their way through a little village kind of thing, and get to a gun that they can use to shoot down the helicopter on the second attempt. Unfortunately, it's not long before they hit another roadblock, but they do have an AC-130 in the air which rains down death and destruction and clears a path for them. The AC-130 goes on to clear a path through some fields, a little village, and gets them to some cars which they commandeer on the road, civilian vehicles. They then take these civilian vehicles to a junkyard, make their way through the junkyard to their extraction point where they get into waiting choppers and fly away. The story then cuts back to the Americans leading Warpig through a town. Vasquez, Griggs and Jackson come up against an enemy tank which Warpig handily dispatches through a wall in an awesome display. They then get to the extraction point, Jackson gets on the guns, shoots some stuff, they land, Griggs and some other guys get off, Jackson and Vasquez stay on, and then they hear about some green smoke nearby where someone's stranded. They go do the rescue mission, get back to the chopper, fly away, and a chopper accompanying them gets shot the out of the sky by an RPG. They're told there's a nuke nearby and that the area is not safe, but when they see small arms fire coming from the cockpit, they decide to go and rescue her and get permission to do so. They go, they rescue the pilot, take her back to the helicopter, and as they're flying away, unfortunately the nuke goes off and everything goes to rat shit. 30,000 American troops are killed almost instantly, Vasquez certainly included. Jackson survives a couple of minutes longer, but he dies of radiation poisoning in the next scene. Then it's back to the Caucasus. Gaz, Price and Soap have learned that al-Assad fled the country before the US invasion, and they work with their Russian allies to track him down in a small village. They go door to door with the benefit of Russian air support and capture al-Assad in a farmhouse, where Price tortures him for info he won't divulge, finds out through a chance phone call he's working with Zakayev, and puts a bullet in his head. The story then jumps back 19 years. Zakayev, capitalizing on the fall of the Soviet Union along with the Chernobyl disaster, is selling off nuclear material. Price and his then captain, Captain Macmillan, infiltrate Pripyat to engage in the first assassination mission the UK government has authorised since the Second World War. They sneak in and through the ruins of the city to an old hotel, which they are going to use as their vantage point. Price fires at Zakayev but misses the mark, blowing off an arm rather than ending his life. He then has to snipe a chopper pilot to allow them time to repel from the building just as the floor they were on gets blown to bits by the ultranationalists. They fight through the ultranationalist forces and shoot down another chopper, only for it to crush Macmillan, rendering him unable to walk. Price has to carry Macmillan through a long scene where he has to fight lots of guys, and they get him to the extraction point where they have to fight another lot of guys, and then they escape. Back in the present, Gaz, Price, Soap and Griggs have to fight their way through various other guys. They actually set ambushes for the ultranationalists who they know are going to be coming for them, and fall back and fall back and fall back as they come up to various bits. They end up back at the farmhouse where they captured al-Assad, only to find that they have to walk back down the hill to get to the extraction point, which they do after killing hundreds more guys. After that, Gaz, Price, Soap, Kamarov and Griggs hatch a plan to ambush and capture Zakayev's son Victor. They set up shop, get ready for the ambush, and it all goes fairly well until Victor drives away, smashes into a thing, which falls over with them on top, and then they're forced to pursue on foot. They eventually do track him down on the roof of a hotel, where, as luck would have it, he blows his brains out. Zakayev blames the US and UK for his son's death and plans a nuclear response. Gaz, Soap, Price and Griggs parachute into a location near the silo, but Griggs misses a landing site and gets himself captured. So, first order of business is to rescue Griggs after breaking a dog's neck. They track him down easily enough and proceed with the mission, first knocking out power to the nuclear complex. Griggs, Price, Soap and Gaz then meet up with a US sniper team, just in time to see 2 nuclear missiles being launched. They are projected to hit the US eastern seaboard by their current trajectory, and casualties are expected to be in the tens of millions if they hit their mark, so the group is now in a race against time to disable the missiles. So they bust through a fence on the perimeter, make their way inside, blow up some tanks, kill hordes of guys again, see some things open, and then they reach a vent, which they need to do to infiltrate the complex. And once they rappel down into the complex, they start to make their way through, fighting through, again, hordes of ultranationalist soldiers. And once they get to their destination, they upload the abort codes supplied by the friendly Russians, i.e. Kamarov. With 40 million lives saved, Gaz shows the group Zakayev making his escape, and tells them to get to the vehicle depot where some trucks are waiting. Price, Soap, Gaz and Griggs board a truck and engage in the chase. They are pursued by a hind, however, which shoots out a bridge just as they're about to cross it, knocking them all on their asses. Gaz, Price, Soap and Griggs are the only guys left on the bridge, fighting against hordes of ultranationalist troops. They put up a pretty good fight, but the hind comes back and blows up a petrol tanker, which pretty much ends them. Griggs tries to help Soap. He tries to drag him from his relatively unprotected position to behind an armoured car, but he gets shot in the head en route. Zakayev shows up and executes Gaz. Then, just as it looks like all hope is lost, the hind gets blown out of the sky by a Russian chopper. With Zakayev and his men's attentions diverted, Soap turns to Price, who slides his pistol across to him. Soap grabs a pistol and shoots everybody who needs shot. Kamarov and his men then show up to airlift the survivors to safety. Soap turns his head to one side and watch as a Russian soldier attempt to resuscitate a deceased Captain Price.